WIBX News Time is 8:03. Your news brought to you by Utica on Tap at the Stanley on Saturday, March 22nd. Presented by Pizza Boys in New York Mills. Get your tickets now. Advance tickets are $30, $40 at the door. You can find out more on our website at WIBX950.com and click on Utica on Tap. The governor was in the Mohawk Valley yesterday talking about property taxes. He says they are too high statewide, and that is hurting New York.
It's not the personal income tax. It's the property tax. Why are people leaving upstate New York? It's the property tax. Why do we have trouble attracting businesses to upstate New York? It's the property tax.
Herkimer County Chair Jim Bono says consolidation has to be done as soon as possible.
In Herkimer County, we have multiple farms, 21 different villages, towns, and a small city of 4,100, 4,200 people. Now's the time. It's ripe that we look at consolidation efforts.
And the village of Bridgewater doing just that by a vote of 40-8 last night. The village voting itself out of existence, becoming a part of the town of Bridgewater, effective January 2015. A Rome woman arrested for allegedly bringing methamphetamine into the Oneida County Jail. 24-year-old Hillary Lohr was being booked in the jail as a result of a traffic stop when a corrections officer allegedly found a container with meth hidden on her. She was charged with promoting prison contraband. The Oneida County Sheriff's Office K-9 unit recently received a protective vest for one of the unit's K-9 teams. WIBX's Jim Rondinelli has more.
The vest was donated by the Central New York Kennel Club. The Kennel Club began its mission to help protect local police dogs in the wake of the 2013 Herkimer shooting that claimed the life of FBI K-9 Ape. They've also donated K-9 vests to the Utica and Rome police departments. The custom-made vests cost about $1,400 each.
The head of New York's Workers' Compensation Board is leaving the position for the private sector. Jeffrey Fenster stepping aside from the $151,000 a year position in 2 weeks. He's being linked to former Assemblyman Vito Lopez, who reportedly helped him get his job 4 years ago when David Patterson was governor.
In sports, the Knicks will try to stretch their winning streak to 7 games tonight at home against the Pacers. New York beat Milwaukee 115-94 on Saturday for its 6th straight win. And Mario Manningham is returning to the Big Apple. The Daily News reports the 27-year-old wide receiver has agreed to a 1-year deal with the Giants. Manningham battled knee injuries the last 2 years with the 49ers. He spent his first 4 NFL seasons with the G-Men. And Alfonso Soriano homered and drove in 4 runs as the Yankees beat the Red Sox 8-1 in Tampa. Brett Gardner had 3 hits and scored twice for New York. And starter Michael Pineda pitched 4 1/3 shutout innings for the win. The Yankees play the Braves this afternoon. And Andrew Brown singled in the winning run in the bottom of the 9th inning to lift the Mets to a 5-4 win over the Tigers at Tradition Field. Your sports brought to you by Hammermill Title MP Paper, now at Costco.com. Save up to $4 off on select Hammermill Title items. Offer valid through March 30th. While supplies last, Hammermill, no worries.
Okay, so imagine doing a documentary on something that a lot of documentaries are done on, the World War II Holocaust documentaries, which are sad. Rick Lewis has decided to do a documentary on something that's really quite cheery, like beer, craft beer, and we'll talk to Rick coming up in a minute and a few clips from his new film. Coming up, 8:07, First News Keeler in the morning, back in 2 minutes on WIBX. All right, good morning. It's 8:10 on WIBX. Cloudy skies will give way to some rain later on this afternoon, and then rain and snow tonight. It's going to be really beautiful. Winter is not ending. Rick Lewis in studio right now. Rick, of course, works up at WUTR, Nexstar Broadcasting, and you are a filmmaker.
Yeah, I have this thing about making long-form projects that take a long time.
Yeah, like this one has been going on for over a year, right?
Yeah, I started, and I think everyone is aware of starting to see all types of different craft beer all over the place, and I've always would seek out the different types of beer, and it was a task at times. And there was one store near me. All of a sudden, they had this cooler full of all these different types of beer, and I loved it. They went out of business.
Yeah.
But then I started noticing it sprouting up like mushrooms and everywhere. Like at the convenience store, nice and easy, I walk in, they got a beer cooler. Now, in the old days, the beer cooler was stocked with your basic major brands.
And you open the glass. Right. You open the glass. And
this one, you walk in, and it's beer you can't pronounce. Beers with these natural-looking labels, and now I said, wow.
It's a whole industry now.
Exactly. And people are drinking it. And I said, do you even know what a porter is? Do I even know what a...
Right.
Let me find out.
Hey, Porter. I always thought Johnny Cash was talking about a guy on a train, but no. He was talking about a beer. That's what he was. Ryan Frabel is the events manager at Town Square Media, and this event that we're doing, which, Rick, you'll be at as well, you're going to do some taping to kind of cap off your documentary
Yes,
this weekend.
I want to be able to. One of the things I was thinking of a year ago, something like this coming to our area was unheard of.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of how do I plan an event where I can meet a bunch of people that really are into craft beer, whether it's something that they are just experiencing because they're just at the drinking age, or they grew up and all of a sudden, wow, I have a big choice of beer. Well,
and Ryan, you're this is going to be filled with aficionados. Right?
Absolutely. This is a craft beer tasting event.
And not only the people that will be tasting it, many of them will know their stuff, but the people that are serving it up really know these beers. In some cases, they're the people that they're crafting them for their breweries.
We'll have representatives from some of the breweries, and we're going to have representatives from each of the distributors, the people who distribute these craft beers throughout our area. So we're excited. We have 90 beers, different craft beers and hard ciders.
Rick Lewis just smiled.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people smiling from 44 different breweries around the state, nationally, and even internationally.
Have you, Rick? Have you spoken with John Nagel yet?
John Nagel? No.
Nagel comes into the studio on Thursdays. He'll be in here tomorrow morning with us, and he always brings a beer in, and we're doing the craft beers. And we do a little sampling, and it's like, it really is like you'd sample wine. I mean, it's really the same type of thing.
It's become the new, the new pastime.
But he knows, he really knows his stuff.
Yeah.
So if somebody you want to grab, he'll be there on Saturday as well.
Okay. I had never really heard of what goes on at a festival, and actually the first one I went to, which has been described as the Super Bowl of festivals, the Great American Beer Festival in Denver, I got a media pass and I went down there, and I had never been to one, and I realized, wow, they're all coming in, they're getting these little teeny glasses, and there's 100 people standing in a line to drink a beer when there's like hundreds of vendors. It's a giant, huge event center. But people, they might have heard of a beer, and this is their only chance to sample it because as you start to realize now that there's a little interest in craft beer, it's local.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is people have always had craft beer, but they're always thinking of, well, this comes from such and such a place, such and such a place. Now with the popularity, you realize, well, Saranac is a craft beer.
Yeah.
And every town, as it starts to spread around, has their own craft beer. And that's what you start to realize. It's a local
it really is become.
thing.
And certainly not everybody gets the fame that Saranac gets, as it's become far more regional. But that's beginning to happen. You're seeing these showing up in the grocery stores. I was at back when we were doing the thing for The Voice over at Tony's, Nagel was there, and he had a table set up, and he had a craft beer. So you'd go up, and I think he had 3 of them, and you'd go and you'd sample them, and you'd try them out, and you could always go up to the bar and buy one if you liked it. But that was 3 different beers you could try. This is going to be a little different.
This is a little different. This is 90 different beers.
90 different beers.
90.
90.
Yeah. So, and everyone does get that sampling glass when they come in.
And they can keep that, right?
You keep that. That's part of your ticket. So you come in and you get your sampling glass, and you can try as many beers as you possibly can try. You don't have to drink the whole thing. That's what sampling is all about.
All 90.
It's not
right?
all 90.
It is polite to spit it out.
Yes. Just like wine tasting.
At a wine tasting, right? Here, I don't know. You're going to see a lot of spitting it out.
Well, there's a little bit. we are gonna make sure we have enough. You
got to have them there just in case.
The tubs. But
it's
going to be an exciting event, and we have 2 different sessions that people can come. We have a 12 to 3, which is quickly selling out. We have just a few tickets left for that, and then we have a 4 to 7.
4 to 7, I think is going to be a really cool time. I think that's the cool time to go. A little later in the day, but any time is good. It's afternoon.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I want to get there before they get set up because I'm doing the documentary, so I want to show getting ready.
I'll see you early then.
And also you want to talk to the brewmasters and the people who are there when they're not swamped with people standing in line demanding their attention.
What's really cool about craft beers, and I just want to say this, piggyback your point about it being local, is that I learned recently that the 3 major beer companies now are owned by overseas companies. So a lot of these local breweries will have big plants that hire a lot of people. So they're a big. They've become a big source of jobs for people around the country, which is really awesome.
And one point you mentioned, and this is something that I've learned working with it. And again, my documentary, I'm not going to be getting into the specific legalities and technicalities, but one of the things is that the craft beer has grown up from small breweries, and some of the larger companies are putting out craft beers and going by the guidelines as this is a craft beer. Well,
Right.
it is, but it's owned by.
Well, in some cases, they're changing. In most of these cases, they're taking their name off it.
Exactly.
Off of the label.
Exactly.
Right.
You'll
Give it-
see in the fine print, but they want you to think it's a craft beer when it's
Exactly.
really being produced by
Right.
Heineken or something.
Right, and
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, so I want to play a couple of quick clips here. Part of your documentary is going to have some. You're going to have some really neat people in this.
Yeah.
Including there's a reference to SATURDAY tonight. Bay City Rollers.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Well, when I was in Denver, they had a lot of at the Great American Beer Fest. They had a lot of speakers, and this one guy who came up to talk about brewing and that he said, well, I didn't really start out as a brewing in the business. I never even thought about it. And he mentioned that he was in the 80s. He was in the Bay City Rollers, and he had traveled around, and he liked beer and
Yeah.
got into making his own because it really wasn't available.
His name is Jason
Medvec.
Medvec, yeah. And here's a clip of Jason from the Bay City Rollers, 70s and 80s. SATURDAY. It was kind of a pop rock band. Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What a start.
Here he is talking about the beer and his start with the Bay City Rollers. I believe. Here
Being a musician, you wouldn't think you would be drinking high quality beer. You can't help but to drink great beer in Germany, or some in Belgium and some of these other countries. I mean, you go. It's a lot like what's happening in the U.S. right now, where it's emerging. The craft beers. There's a brewery in every town. Well, that's what it is over in Europe.
Okay, what do we have next on this? You have 3 clips on this guy.
That was him talking about his experience in Europe, traveling around and drinking beer. You think in a band they're just drinking, crushing cans, drinking it, but he was drinking the good stuff. And
It's like that commercial you see on TV where the guys are upset because the flour gets knocked over, and they're these really heavy metal crazy guys.
But here he talks about how he started out in the Bay City Rollers.
Okay.
I didn't start by the typical home brewing. I started as a musician in a band traveling the world, a band called the Bay City Rollers. You may remember the SATURDAY Night, that song. It was the #1 hit. And for the band, I spent a couple years touring with them and basically traveled the world and tried to try beers in all different parts of the world, from Germany to the Czech Republic to Amsterdam and so on, and had a great time, and fell in love with the different styles and the different way people brewed.
Last clip.
This last clip, something I discovered talking, and if you go to these festivals, and ours that we're having here, I don't know if they're going to have, when you talk to the brewers, you'll notice that people migrate to them like, oh my gosh, it's the brewer from such and such a place.
I think you'll have that.
Yeah,
I think so.
the brewer. I met the brewer from Sam Adams is here, and,
Yeah.
and actually he was, he's a rock star, and he's a brewer, and so he just talks a little bit about that.
What's funny is the brewers are the rock stars. The guy brewing the beer is the one who is the star. Everybody wants to meet him, and everybody wants to talk to that guy, but being local, it's so what it's about, and quality over quantity, man. That's all I can say.
Well, that's not something you'd expect to hear out of a rock star, right?
No, but he learned to appreciate beer in a place where that really specializes in it.
All right, last clip you have is there was some local there as well in Ommegang, right?
Right, that was Phil Leinhardt, and he is the Ommegang brewer. And they had I was there, and they won a bronze medal for one of their beers. And I had a chance to talk to him, and they were also unveiling their new beer. I know that Bill's not allowed to watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that is true. I got through one episode, and my wife was
I
like,
love it. I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah.
can't do it anymore. We're not watching this. Let's watch The Housewives of Seattle or something.
Notice how he said you were not allowed.
I'm not allowed. That's right. And it's not even like it's not like there's just one TV in my house. It's just like, no, you're going to sit here and you're going to watch this with me. Okay.
But they were unveiling their latest brew back in October, and they chose the site to.
This is the Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
we,
They were actually at the premiere last night. One of my friends works at Ommegang PR, and she was down there at Lincoln
that's
Center at the
awesome.
premiere.
Yeah.
So
Is
that
it-
Ommegang is going to be at
Is
Utica on Tap.
a new an Amagang will be there.
Yeah,
I wonder if
absolutely.
they'll have the Game of Thrones beer there.
I hope so.
Yeah, that'd be cool to try.
They've got 4. They got like a series of 4 that's
Right.
coming out. So
I don't have time to get into the clip, but it's there, and this is really cool. When will your documentary be done?
Well, I will have portions of it for viewing. I'm basically setting it out in a couple of stages. One, I will have some things which I will probably be airing on WTR through the course of May. And I would like to have it wrapped up by the end of summer. And the reason is, when I started last year, I didn't have a chance to get things like Saranac, which is really a craft festival and also in Omegang. I didn't get a chance to get that. So I want to get some of that footage to put in.
Yeah, see how many people show up at the Saranac Thursday night, really based around beers.
Yeah, and beers and craft beer.
And craft beer, that's
the
pretty cool.
thing, yeah.
All right, and by the way, Rick's company is called No Budget Productions, so we all can identify with that. Ryan.
Yes.
To get tickets for this thing, and Rick will be taping. You might end up on camera part of the documentary.
Absolutely.
But to get tickets, it's easy. You just go to our website.
Go to our website or UticaOnTap.com. Tickets are $30 in advance, $40 at the door. We do have $10 designated driver tickets that we'll be selling at the door. But you can pick either the 12 to 3 or the 4 to 7 session. So we're excited about having Utica on Tap.
Utica on Tap. It's a Saturday, 2 sessions, one early afternoon, one late afternoon. Going to be cool. Nice. All right. Thank you. Okay, got a break. Come right back here in 2 minutes. First News Keeler in the morning on WIBX. Thank you, Rick. If you want to see Rick's portion of Rick's video from the documentary, the part about Amagang Brewery, and they have the Game of Thrones beer is showing up in our show notes at WIBX950.com. We'll put that in there. So I had a story we talked about earlier this morning, and there's a couple really unique stories out there today. Number one unique story is the Yankees and the Bees showing up in the outfield at the Yankee game down in Florida. Swarm of bees. It was so bad. David, did you see the game?
See any of the game? Pieces of it, but I did see the part with the bees.
And the groundskeepers had to come all the way out, running around, right? And they're trying to swat away the bees, like you would. I only can describe it like taking a towel and trying to get the smoke away from your smoke detector in your kitchen.
There was even a point when Mark Teixeira went out of the dugout and brought a little thing of honey and gave it to the groundskeepers to chase away the bees.
That's funny.
Well, it's good.
Would the honey chase them away, or do just the opposite? Hey, you've got my honey.
It's a good thing that nobody got stung on the Yankees or the other team, because then they'd probably be on the DL for 6 months.
That's rough.
Bee sting.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, and then the other story that I found interesting that I haven't even talked about as of yet, but was it a Disney? It was Disney. It's the Jurassic Cafe. If you've ever been to Disney, and they have that dinosaur area, and in there is the Jurassic Cafe. Did anybody see the video? And I thought of Christine about this because we were both watching those fish guys, the tank guys at the New York Sash event. And the tank, now I don't know if they made this tank, inside the restaurant. Everybody's eating, all at Disney. All of a sudden, a huge leak springs out of this huge circular tank.
Oh, no.
It's a tank that is probably the size of, I don't know, maybe like the studio, and it's like a tube glass. Water starts flying out of it. And I mean spraying out of it. And you're watching the water. People have videotaped it, of course. They have their phones. The water is like going right down like you can see it draining out of a bathtub. And they quickly got everybody out. All of these exotic fish, so you had the employees with nets and garbage bags trying to get the fish out before the thing, the fish would die. So one of the fish, by the way, named Laney. And now there's no, that's not true. Hey, there was a good end to that yesterday, right? So they feel, anyway, that the person was pleaded guilty. Okay, then the final story I'm going to bring to you coming up in a second and play the audio. I found a TV report on this, too. Is the woman, we just hear all the time about parents that are just stupid. Stupid parents. And even the senator down there in the Brooklyn or the Bronx, wherever he was, wanted to pass this law that made it mandatory that we all parents take courses before they can be parents, really. But you think about it, the story of the scalding hot water this week. a baby put into scalding hot water. The story of the guy who became frustrated and bit the nose off the baby. The story of the woman driving her kids into the ocean. I mean, we just see story after story. We're not going to cover the good stuff. Finally, there's a story that'll blow your mind. And if you haven't heard it yet, I have the audio. If you have heard it, I have new audio that I'm going to put in here as well. This woman put her life on the line for her children, which is what most parents, I think, would do. We cover the crazy stories, which I think is the small percentage. But I think most parents would do whatever they could to save their kids' lives. And this story is incredible. I'll do it after the news, which is in 2 minutes in WIBX.
WIBX News Time, 8:31. Your news brought to you by Utica on Tap at the Stanley on Saturday, March 22nd, presented by Pizza Boys in New York Mills. Get your tickets now. Advance tickets are $30, $40 at the door. You can find out more on our website at WIBX950.com and click on the banner on the top of the page for Utica on Tap. Malaysian investigators trying to recover deleted data from a flight simulator found in the home of a pilot of missing Flight 370. At the same time, Malaysia is now putting together another high-level team that plans to travel to Beijing to update family members on the status of the investigation. The Justice Department set to announce a deal with Toyota today over the Japanese automaker's handling of complaints about unintended vehicle acceleration. The $1 billion settlement will allow the company to avoid criminal charges. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan has been leading a probe into allegations that the automaker initially misled federal authorities after complaints first emerged about the acceleration. Today marks 1 week since the deadly gas explosion and building collapse in New York's Harlem. A moment of silence is planned for 9:31 this morning Eastern Time. Religious and community leaders will gather at the site in Manhattan to remember the lives of the 8 people who were killed. And the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Janet Yellen, is hosting her first press conference today as head of the nation's central bank. It is the first time that Yellen will answer reporters' questions in real time, with her answers televised live on Wall Street. It's the first since taking over for retired Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke. Your weather brought to you by Clifford Fuel. For over 50 years, Clifford's been providing excellent service. Go online at cliffordfuel.com each month to register for your chance to win a $100 gas card.
It's like when my brother had a broken arm. I had run over my brother. We're talking about something there. My brother had I was going to hit the dog with my bike or my brother, and I swerved, tried to miss both of them. I really did, and I ran over my brother's arm, and I got in a lot of trouble for it. And me and my brother Dave, we both thought my brother Brian was the youngest, so he got away with everything. So I thought he was faking because we were getting a lot of trouble, and there he was, the cupboard door. It was one of the lower cupboards. My brother had his arm on the cupboard door, and I just gave it a wing, and I opened that door right up, and his arm was broken. Yeah. That's when he got... Well, I'm saying we should have had a cast on that. Why didn't you take him to the doctors?
So you hit him with a bike and you broke his arm?
I didn't break... The bike broke his arm.
And then afterwards,
were you riding your bike in the house?
Afterwards, I was trying to see, are you really faking it or are you really hurt? And he was really hurt. So... I feel bad about that today. You can tell. I mean, he was 3. I would have been 9. So, I feel terrible about that.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he was 4. I was 10. I don't know. Either way, it was not good. So, here's something heroic. Finally, a story that we can say is a good story. It shows what I think most parents truly deep down are great people that really take care of their kids. Yes, there's a small percentage that allow them to run around the grocery store until everything's falling all over the place and you want to swat them. But you can't, right? Here is a woman, a 22-year-old Mindy Tran of Lawrence, Massachusetts, has to be like the hero of the day. Here's a full report from ABC News. Listen to what this woman did.
A Massachusetts mom says it was just instinct that caused her to throw herself behind her moving car to save her children. Mindy Tran strapped her twin daughters into their car seats, then went to lock her front door. But the car started rolling down the driveway and was headed toward traffic. That's when she jumped behind her car, which stopped when it rolled onto her leg.
My daughters were my everything. They're my everything. And I don't want to see my daughters in the hospital. And I knew at that time it was either mine or theirs.
Wow, Mindy's left knee was crushed and her right leg was dislocated. She has a long recovery ahead, and she says she is just happy her daughters were spared.
How about that?
Amazing.
Is that not just an incredible story? Here we hear so many bad stories, and this is the one. That's just a great story.
And she didn't even think about it.
Didn't even think about it because you don't have time, right?
Right.
What time do you have? These are your kids. Jim Secca on the line right now. The budget vote in the city of Utica is tonight. James, good morning. I know you've been really can't wait to talk about this. What are your thoughts right now? It seems like there are some people that are coming out and pretty vocally saying things are not right now.
Good morning, Bill. Yes, and that last story was a great story, very inspiring.
That is something, isn't it?
Thank you
Yeah.
for playing that.
Yep.
Yes. If folks out there in the city of Utica want to show up to one meeting, on only one meeting, they need to show up tonight.
This is the one.
This vote, and let the council know that you are not pleased with. And I got to say, I was appalled to hear a department head on your show call this a 9%. Let's call it a 9% tax increase a modest increase. It is far from modest. As you know, the governor was in town yesterday talking about the appalling rate of taxes. I mean, the average New Yorker is paying $9,700 a year in taxes, and especially upstate New York and in the city of Utica. With all the tax rates, today's paper, the water rate rise of 15th straight year. We've got tax after tax after tax. This is, again, far from modest increase. We're paying in New York State 40% higher than the national average on all taxes combined. We can't just look at the city, and the council members can't just look at the city's tax increase. We got to look at the total picture.
Yeah.
Nobody is talking at three meetings that were held, public meetings. It was mentioned once, and very little talk about it because they don't want to talk about it. But the sewer rates,
right?
We're looking at $150 million modifications to the county sewer district. Another $150 million in sewer charges for upgrades in the city of Utica alone. That combined, we're talking about $300 million in sewer costs that are going to be coming up shortly. Nobody's talking about these things. This all combined with all the taxes, the other taxes we're paying, is driving people out, Bill.
For full disclosure, Jim was a councilman in the city of Utica, ran for comptroller last year. Lost in that election, and now you're not in office, but you're pretty vocal. I mean, you've kind of taken up the charge here. Here's a question. You've been in there, Jim. How do you vote on this thing when you don't have the audit done? You have no idea what the numbers really are.
Very simple. No. I vote no. I would vote against it. Unfortunately, let me tell you what's going to happen here, Bill, though. What's going to happen is when they vote no, it reverts back to the mayor's original budget. I got fooled 2 years ago when the mayor came up with, what was it, a 19% tax increase?
Yeah.
And we cut it as much as possible. When we got to the very end, we were able to cut it substantially. But we were told if we did not vote for that which was unacceptable to me as well, whatever it wound up being, but it was quite high.
Is that something in the
6% range? If we did not vote for that, it would revert back to the mayor's original proposed budget.
So tell me, is that state law? Is that part of the city charter? What makes for that to happen?
It's part of the city charter, and then again the deadlines. They're talking about getting an extension. We're not going to get an extension. It's false information.
Yeah.
It is state law that we have to have this budget done, and it has to be in place no later than April 1st.
What are your thoughts about Assemblyman Brindisi's offer? It's the state's offer. It's the governor's offer to use this state program to come in. They'll work on the budget, go over the books, and actually revenue could come in. It seems like a win-win, doesn't it?
No, it's a no-brainer. But these are the things that we were talking about before the state even came up with it. Councilman Becerra and I had proposed all of these things, asking for the state to step in. You know, during my campaign, I said that we should be getting the benefit of the state comptroller's office to help us with our financial problems. The other thing the city council has not done is not finished the master plan process. They have not followed through and put together the implementation portion of that plan. That's the last step that needs to be done. And included in that is long-term planning. We have a special committee that was supposed to be set up for long-term financial planning. Without doing that, we're going to go every year, just like we've been doing, piecemealing a budget and really absolutely accomplishing nothing. Cutting back a few $1,000s here and there in a $70-some-odd million budget is ridiculous. It's not going to solve our problems. No. And then, you talk about Mayor Hanna, but darn it, Mayor Hanna did have the right thought and the long-term plan. He talked about metro government. Like it or not, that's what's being said across the state now. That's what the governor is saying.
Well, you hate to say about Hanna is that it's a shame that things had the negatives were there because there were so many positives that it's that type of guy that I think is needed in Utica to be able to turn things around.
I agree, Bill. And when you look at the firehouses, the fire stations, and the decrease. Well, again, and I know the chief was talking about 256 firemen, 13 fire stations. If Hanna didn't do what he did, how in the hell would we have paid for that? Really? And basically, they're down to 115, 6 firehouses, but they're doing the job, aren't they? Everything is getting done that needs to be done. In fact, he even mentioned there was a fire in West Utica a few days ago at the apartment complex, and he brought up the fact of 911. If that gentleman did not call 911 and that reaction didn't happen as quickly as it did, those people could have perished. Well, let's go back to 911. Do you realize a few years ago when we were promoting the 911 consolidation, I was a big supporter of that. I was the chairman of that public safety committee. And there was nothing but pushback, pushback, pushback. Oh, the county's going to take over. They don't understand our city. People are going to die because they're not going to get the help that they need because they don't understand the needs of the city. The firemen and the policemen understand. Well, it's not perfect, but it is getting there. And actually, they did their job. They got those folks. They got our fire department there on time and there quickly. And again, our men did their job, and they did it well. But again, those things need to be done. 911 is a good example of how we can long-term planning and consolidation of certain services. Why don't we look at Metro Police? Look at all the police departments we have in Oneida County. It's absurd.
So I'm assuming you will be at tonight's meeting.
I will be there. I definitely will be there, and I'm really asking folks, don't just sit back and take this anymore. Get up to the meeting. Let them at least know. I don't think they're going to be able to do much of anything at this point. I got to be honest with you. I've been there. I know it. They may get 1 or 2 percentage points off of the taxes, but you know what? We're going to wind up having to pay it back later. We still don't know from the comptroller's office where the money's going to come from. From what I'm hearing, it's $350,000 now, Bill, for the school taxes.
Yep.
Well, where is that money coming from?
There's a lot of questions out there. I'll call you Citizen Jim Zecca. You're more vocal now than you were before when you were a councilman. So, all right.
Citizen advocate.
Okay, thank you, Jim. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Here's Christine. What's working in the newsroom here this morning?
Good morning. It is 8:49. Laney's Army says justice is now served. The victim of that chimp mauling in Connecticut asking the state for some relief. And at least 2 people are waking up multi-millionaires today.
All right, I have a forecast that says, partly cloudy skies will give way to cloudy skies, will give way to rain later on this afternoon. The high today of 41. Tonight, pretty good chance of rain and snow. It'll be messy tomorrow morning. Rain and snow with a high of 37. Currently, we're at 29 degrees. Coming up next, I have no idea. And when that happens, I usually get myself in trouble, so it might be worth listening to. Back in 2 minutes on WIBX. You pay attention to what that
says. It's just little
there?
Things. Yeah, it's little things.
So you got to have the left on the left. Your headphones have an L and an R on them. Got it. So you're hearing it the way it was intended to be heard by the musician, right?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just those little things like that for me. Are
you OCD?
A little bit, yeah. With certain things. Some things I could care less, but
that's Andrew. When he says care less, he has to knock 3 times.
Knock 3 times.
Well, if you could care less, I couldn't care less. Because I just don't care so much that I just couldn't care less. Okay, I said I'm to the. It's been a busy day, and I'm to that point where I've kind of exhausted everything that's scheduled. So I get to wing it. I love it when I get to wing it. You're giving me 3 minutes to wing it.
Yeah.
So what do you want to talk about?
Well, that brings up an interesting point. The could care less or couldn't care less. They mean two different things.
I knew that
but
you were
people
going
say
to go
the
down
same
that
thing,
road.
Yeah.
The lines are going to start ringing and the show's going to end.
So the way it goes is I could care. People will say I could care less, and my answer to that is they'll say to you, no, you couldn't care less.
Right.
And I say no, I could. I really could. I have reached a level here where I could care less. That's why I said it. That's the end of it.
Yeah.
But if you
keep
really
going,
could
I'm going to care less.
Right.
Then I couldn't care less. Once you get to rock bottom, you just can't care any less than that. So I played the story of the woman who's a hero. She saves her child's life by diving, actually almost sliding in behind the wheel as it's going in reverse. It created a speed bump, slowed the vehicle, allowed the neighbor to be able to hop in the vehicle and save the children, right? And so there that is. Here's another story if you'd like to go to the other side. And a woman in Florida just set a car on fire, and it happened in a McDonald's parking lot. Do you want to know why it happened?
The order wasn't right.
Wait,
That's
she
what I
set
said.
a car on fire?
She set it on fire.
A car that was intentionally set on fire outside a local fast food restaurant. This all happened early Sunday morning on the south side.
Witnesses are sharing their video of the scene and details on what they say happened. Action News' Amanda Warford is live on the south side. Amanda, they say this was a fight over food.
And Mark, this happened at the McDonald's that you see behind me. In fact, right over here in the back corner of this parking lot is where witnesses say a fire was started by a woman who was acting so extreme that at first they didn't take her threats seriously. A car engulfed in flames. This was the scene outside McDonald's on Beach Boulevard near St. John's Bluff early Sunday morning. Action News viewers caught it on camera, and Sabrina Marie was there.
They were going at it.
Marie says this fire was started on purpose after a fight between a couple that began inside McDonald's 30 minutes earlier. Marie says they were right behind her in line.
She was saying that she wanted this, wanted that, and then she wanted either a McFlurry or an ice cream on top, and he was not in for it. And he was yelling at her saying he's not going to do it.
Marie says that's when the argument escalated.
Next thing you know, she says, I'm going to blow it up. And we're wondering, what are you going to blow up?
According to this Jacksonville Fire and Rescue Incident Report, it was a 1994 Eldorado. Marie says the woman grabbed the man's keys and ran outside.
She got something out of the car, which happened to be a bottle, and then gasoline from who knows where. She completely poured everything all over it. And next thing you know, there was a match, and it was up in flames.
Marie says witnesses tried to help the man put the fire out, but when firefighters arrived, it was still burning. Meanwhile, Marie says the woman ran through a nearby parking lot and was never seen again.
All this over a McFlurry. The order wasn't right.
Oh, man.
All of it over a McFlurry. Pretty crazy. All right, that's it for us. Back tomorrow. Enjoy your day at WIBX.
WIBX and WIBX950.com.